Welcome back to part two of AIDA. We spoke about first AI, and now we're going to jump into the DA of this. And for those of you that are jumped back in, this is the first episode. This is going to tremendously help you in your marketing and your sales endeavor, effectively acquisition, making money, selling people the thing that you want to sell them because you know how to uniquely help them. So step one, step two, attention and interest. I'm not going to break those down here. Go back to episode 1 to go ahead and take a look at it. But step 3, the emotional response that you want to create from somebody as you go through these first two things is desire. Right? You want them to want the thing that you have by creating some form of desire for them. And that's really the main goal. Andrew, talk a little bit about desire from like a psychological, emotional perspective here.
Yeah. So, a lot of my dissertation revolves around desire. And I think the more we come to find, people all kind of want the same things. When you really break it down, there's almost like 7 evolutionary behavioral motives. I mean, like the decision to avoid disease can be a big driver. And so we find even things like racism, xenophobia, like that is a function of behavior, of understanding the motive of avoiding disease, which is reducing your risk and likelihood around being around instances or situations, environments that are not familiar because they pose now more increased risk. Social status is another big one. Mate acquisition, mate retention, kin care. And so when you start looking at why people want the things that they want, it's going to evolve at different phases and stages of your life. But I will say that desire is one of the most potent psychological mechanisms that will either keep you exactly where you are if you can't manage your appetite, and at the same time can also really be a strong motivator. And if you don't believe me, think about keeping up with the Joneses and that whole saying. People want what they don't have, and they only want it because someone else has it. And that's really desire as a construct wrapped up into a simple saying. So how it relates to business and marketing, like that's obviously the application of what we're trying to get into here.
As you think about it, most people come to you in an easy one. I want to lose weight. Mm-hmm. That's an obvious one that exists today. That's why GLP-1s are so big. Like everybody wants to lose weight. Why didn't they do the work to go lose the weight, but now they're using GLP-1s? Well, it finally made it easy enough for them to achieve the outcome, the transformation, the thing that they really wanted. Like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym, wake up early, do all my steps, eat well, weigh my food, all the reason, like, think about it. What is the weird shit that we all do in the health? Like, if you're really into health and fitness, that everybody else is like, nah, I'm never doing that. Think about it. Truly think about all the crazy shit that we do. Because, like, if you slow down for a minute and you look at your life, it's wild. For somebody that does none of those things, you're a psychopath. So for them to get the outcome that they think they desire, to simply sit there and take a GLP-1, all right, I can manage that. I can stomach that one thing. It's fine. And I can get the body I want. The reality is they're not educated enough. They're probably not going to get the body they want, but they think that's what's going to get it for them. Or maybe once they get a little bit, they'll start doing the other things. Like it's just that kickstart, right? But if you really think about all the wild shit that we do in health and wellness and fitness and nutrition and all these things, nobody wants to do all that work. But once you all of a sudden are like, oh, it created an outcome for me. Oh, it's what solved my problem. Oh, it did these things. Your desire to wake up at 5 a.m. and drink 16 ounces of water with some apple cider vinegar and now make a little extra time to eat some real food before you go to the gym so you don't work out fast because now you can lift more and then you don't have low energy, and then come home and sit in the sauna for 30 minutes and then make sure you consume some food and fiber and plenty of protein and then shower and then go throughout your day and get up and get 10K steps in and make sure you stand up every 30 to 60 minutes so you move around so nothing bad happens, and then go to jujitsu in the afternoon and make sure you're eating well and measuring all of your food because that's not a waste of time. and then making sure you're showering. Don't eat after 7 p.m. so that way your growth hormone production can hit right at the perfect time after you fall asleep, because you're weird and you're usually sleeping by 9:30 with your nose strip on, with your night guard on, with an eye mask on, with earplugs, with your mouth taped, and everything like that. Well, hey, I'm really recovered and I can work out 9 times a week and I can kick the shit out of a person. I might be slightly injured, but I can go run a Spartan race and then do everything else in between it I haven't done in 14, or I haven't ran 14 miles in 3 years, and everything else in between. It's like, all right, I'm going to keep doing all those things. Occasionally, I'll subject myself to cold and a cold plunge. Oh, and once in a while, I'm not going to go join my wife outside and ground and get morning sun in my eyeballs, because apparently that's good for your hormones too. So, like, literally speaking, that's a psychopath. But when we think about it, my desire to do, and not, I don't do all of those things. Okay. Unfortunately, I do most of them.
Sun's is perineum too. If you ever,
I think there's probably only 2 of the things in there that I mentioned that I don't actually do. But it's like, why do I do all this stuff? Because it has worked for me to produce an outcome. And now the desire to continue to do those things is there. Mm-hmm. So meeting somebody where they're at, but showing them what is on the other side of the steps they're willing to take, not the steps that you think they need to take, is where you can really pull that desire and move them into that last step, which is going to be the action step. I mean, Andrew, when we first started, you were like, hey, can you weigh your food? And I'm like, bro, I'm never going to do that. Like, that's, you know how much time that is? How about standing to eat my food? I got to sit down and slow it. Like, you want me to chew my food, Andrew? Like, I got to chew it? And on top of it, you want me to remember to take a digestive enzyme, ideally 20 to 30 minutes before I eat food? What are you, nuts? But if you think about those little baby steps of like, man, all right, let me start here. Mm-hmm. So many times we're like, hey, to get everything you want, here's the 100-step plan to get there. But the 2 to 3 things they're willing to do are probably going to yield a result, which now builds the relationship and the trust. Like, Andrew didn't fuck me over the first time. I think I'm willing to listen to him the second time. We'll see what happens. Oh, yeah. Wait, if I don't go to the gym 18 times a week and I actually let my body rest, I gain muscle? How's that possible?
That's crazy.
How's that possible?
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's an element of, and we've mentioned this in a previous episode. So by the way, if you're not subscribed, there's a lot of stuff that's built into this point. It's really important that you go back and go watch those episodes if you haven't already, because they'll give you a lot more insight. We talk about the trust process, and in order for people to have some stickiness and stick-to-itness, they have to trust themselves, they have to trust the process, or they have to trust the coach. If they don't have a coach, that only leads to 2 things. And you have to have at least 1.5 of these trust processes in place to keep going. Otherwise, the expectancy value theory of, if I do this, I will get this, will start to, and there's 2 axes, is how meaningful is it? How competent are you? How able are you to actually do it? And we find that if people have never done it, or if they've quit a lot of diets, what's the most likely behavioral loop that they're going to get caught in? They're going to get caught in quitting, right? And so when we think about desire and how we create this clear gap, and some people call it digging the pain, I like to future cast myself of like, hey, what's the eventual consequences of what happens in your current lifestyle behavior track, right? If you keep eating and staying up late and like not managing your diet and not working out, sure, let's game that out 1 year. What happens? Nothing. What happens in 5 years? Maybe you gain, if we look at the last year, you've gained 2 pounds. Well, let's say you gain 2 pounds every year, right? So in 5 years, you're going to be up 10 pounds, right? In 10 years, you're going to be up 20 pounds. And obviously there's like some exponential curves in there, but gaming it out is then going to highlight the current situation and the likelihood of the future, which then is, oh shit, like I probably need to do something. And that creates and can instill and increase a sense of desire for change. And that's really just foundational behavior change, is there has to be a desire to either do something, or at least an awareness around the trade-offs of what happens if you don't change, right? And as long as people are informed, whatever, like if you want to go be, fat and diabetic, that's fine. But you're also giving up being confident in your skin and, having sex with the lights on, or going to the beach and being comfortable with your shirt off and enjoying the sun on your skin. I think at the end of the day, the trust has to be there because it keeps it believable. Because most people, they don't know what it's like to measure your macros or to rest 3 minutes between sets until you have someone that's like, okay, I think you're competent. I'm willing to trust you. I don't trust the process. And I do kind of trust myself, usually is kind of the nature of how that goes. But yeah, my coaching perspective on desire.
Well, and that's the thing. Once you create the desire, I want the thing bad enough, you're usually finally willing to take the action, right? When the pain of not changing outweighs the pain of changing is when people are finally willing to change.
Yeah.
So it's like that we have to find that and understand it. And the other way you could potentially look at it is when you create a large enough desire for somebody to do the thing that it outweighs the desire to stay where they're at. That is going to be a situation where they finally go and take the action that you're wanting them to take, that you can help them with and create the outcome. And that's really the biggest thing, right? And it does have to be meeting them where they're at. If Andrew came at me 4 or 5 years ago with all the things that I do today, I would have told him to go fuck off. Right? It just easy. And listen, at this point in time, 50% of what I do wasn't even Andrew's suggestion. Never once has Andrew said, go get nose strips and mouth tape, Steve, and you should use earplugs. Never once. But because I'm inquisitive, I'm like, how do I get my whoop score up? And I'm trying to beat the thing and drive it. Never once did I go to Andrew. Hey, Andrew, I want to improve my VO2 max. You know what my crazy ass does now?
Oh, we would do
4-minute sprints on a freaking Echo bike so I can get better with my VO2 max.
Well, that's interesting because you didn't realize you wanted to increase VO2 max, but we were doing VO2 max training. And so
we were. I know we were doing it,
but it wasn't with
it wasn't the intention to go increase my VO2 max, right? So like there's just all that stuff where like, all right, I finally taking the action. So same thing for you. They have to know that finally taking the action is going to get the result that they want. It makes sense to them. They trust you enough to be able to kind of start taking some action, that they're going to see some outcomes. They trust themselves to be able to do the things that you're telling them that they have to do. And listen, when you go out there, like, here's all the cool things we're going to do. Guess how many, can you tell I had coffee today? Guess how many things, if you go and say, here's the 50 things, well, the likelihood of them trusting themselves to do 50 things is super small. But if you can hit on the 2 to 3 things, that's why have people eat some whole food and drink more water and get sleep. They're going to lose weight in the first 2 to 4 weeks. You know why? Those are generally things that people can do.
When I think it really comes down to like setting the barrier to execution so low. And this is one of the reasons why we don't like to overwhelm people initially, is because we need to get them to start to trust themselves as being consistent. We need to get them to trust the process, which is why it's really important for coaches to always engage in continuing education so you can understand the nature of levers, right? If you don't understand lab work, then you're going to be limited in the levers that you can pull, right? If you don't understand an in-body and how to interpret those, you're going to be limited on what progress markers. If you don't understand biofeedback, you're going to be limited on the levers that you can pull. Right. And so now you're going to be obligated to give them everything because you don't know what's going to work. The more you learn, the more you can simplify things. But that's where obviously AID and the A here in action, it has to be simple enough to allow consistency. If it's too complex, no consistency, like, because they'll do a little bit of this and then they're like, ADHD or whatever, or challenge, or maybe they don't have the skill or the practice to do something else. They're not going to adopt the new thing. And it's not going to stick, and they're not going to see the result, which then decreases trust in the process and potentially even the coach. I don't know, Steve, any last thoughts as we kind of close out?
I mean, here's the thing. If you got one good nugget of information out of this, that should have built enough desire for you to take the action of subscribing to this page, because I promise you there's way more information here that's going to help you. I know we just landed on 4 different pieces of this one AIDA model that has a lot of things that you could do and think through. And if you were to go consume our well over 100 episodes, you'd be like, oh, there's so much to do. No, do the one thing you're willing to do. That one thing is what's going to help move you forward. So from that perspective, don't overcomplicate it. Get somebody's attention, build some interest, create a level of desire, and then get them to take action. You got to meet them where they're at and make the things make sense to them. And it's going to be rooted in relationship and trust. But that's really it. Don't overcomplicate it.
When you consider the nature of all this stuff, if you have no idea what the offer is, you need to go back and listen to the offer construction episode, because the action that you want someone to take is to accept the offer and to take advantage of that. And so if you don't have a clear offer, the attention, the interest, the desire, none of that stuff really matters. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe, because in the next episode or two, we're going to be talking about service roadmap and how you actually go about fulfilling on these promises. And like, what do you do with the attention once you have it? God forbid you already have it, but you don't have something to funnel people into, then that's where this really becomes like a leaky colander for most people. Or if you have a really shitty service roadmap and you have no way to keep these people, you're going to need to be really strong in your ability to AIDA people into your service model. But all that to say, I think I feel pretty good about these couple episodes. Hopefully they've been useful.
Appreciate you guys listening to part 2. If you didn't get part 1, go back and listen to it. Really good setup for this last side here. Subscribe to the channel. We always like hanging out. We like you guys coming to visit us and spend some time. Here at Beyond the Pump, we break down the business of fitness and nutrition and ultimately helping you go help more people. So subscribe, rate the episode for us, like it, throw a comment down there if you want us to break down something else. Send us a message on the social media channels that you're on, just so we know you're listening. And outside of that, guys, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
All right. Peace.